We are calling to order the Public Market Advisory Commission. It is Thursday, July 20th, 2017, 5:30 on the second floor of City Hall. So,
Great.
Stephanie, roll call.
Sure. Before we begin, I'm supposed to, I guess, bring up this code. So for those of you watching for the Ann Arbor District Library Summer Game Players, the game code for today's meeting is Marketing Department. Marketing Department is all caps and no space between the words marketing and department. Again, Marketing Department, 250 points. Woohoo! Alrighty. So, roll call. Commissioner Wolf,
Here.
Commissioner Panozzo,
Here.
Commissioner Parker,
Here.
Commissioner Getz,
Here.
and Commissioner Cassiari is not able to make it today.
Okay, so we are item C, approval of this agenda. If there are any additions or changes, I see none. So that leaves us with the first public commentary. There is no public. Approval of previous minutes meeting, which is below, from June 15th.
So I move to approve.
A second? Can I have a second?
Second.
That means it's a motion, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. And we don't have any presentations. And are you discussing these regular business items?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
I am. All right, our first item of regular business is the application from Koblenz Acres for a transfer of seniority. So there's a little information in your packet about this. It includes his application, as well as the procedure and the eligibility, so whether or not he's eligible. So the procedure for this, I know we've done this in the past, but for those of you who haven't been on the commission when we have looked at one of these applications, the vendor submits it to the market manager, and the once it's determined to be complete, we bring it to the commission, and you are requested to review it. And then once after that happens, the commission recommends whether or not it should be approved. And then we provide a recommendation to the Community Services Administrator, and then they provide a written decision to the applicant. So this particular application, Koblenz Acres, is he's eligible because they want to transfer seniority because of the retirement of his father. So there's a couple of reasons we transfer seniority, and one is the death of an annual vendor, another is the retirement of an annual vendor, and the third is because they're selling their business. So this one is because his father is retiring. And the requirements that we have for that are, we ask that they be an immediate family member that has been listed on their application for at least 3 years, and has actively participated in the business for at least 3 years, and that it is submitted within 30 days of the retirement of the vendor. So I, as market manager, recommend we approve this because the applicant, Lester Koblenz, does meet all of these requirements, and he is requesting to take over seniority from Amos and Mary Koblenz, who are currently holds.
So I had a question just about the transfer of seniority eligibility. I just sort of wondered, this doesn't necessarily apply to Lester's application, but I wondered why the eligibility for death is so much less than the eligibility for transfer for retirement. So if someone dies, it looks like as long as they complete a transfer of seniority application within 60 days, that makes them eligible. But then they could have been someone who was not involved or is not a, but if seniority is being transferred upon retirement, then the family member has to have been listed on the vendor application and be actively involved. And so it almost seems like if someone dies, then the transfer is so quick, and it could be to someone who's not been involved at all. So it's like, in fact, that would be somebody who's even less prepared to take over than someone who's retiring and planning ahead. I mean, presumably the death is less likely to have been planned than the retirement. And so it just struck me that if someone dies, it could very quickly transfer to someone who's not really prepared or hasn't been involved. But if someone retires, then we're asking more of them. And I just wondered if anyone knows why that is. It seems a little odd.
Can I hear speak to that? I don't personally know. And yeah, just to, the one detail is if the death of the annual vendor, it does have to be transferred to an immediate family member as well. So that's the only requirement.
Okay, sure.
But
Got it.
yes, that's a really good question, and actually something I would like to bring to the commission maybe in a month or two is to kind of review these rules of transfer of seniority, because we have had a number of requests. And I think that, there's a lot of, you can see here what they are, but I think, we should just continuously be reviewing what our requirements are and seeing if that still makes sense. So I agree, that's a good question, and I think we should consider it as the commission.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks for humoring me.
I would just like to speak of Lester. In the last few years, as far as the market goes, he's been to the market when the Koblenz stall has been here at least every other week. So, and I really haven't seen his father here very often at all. So I think in this case, Lester is a good guy to have
Okay.
as the owner or the holder of the seniority, because he's the face we see at least at market.
Good.
So is there like a motion?
So, yeah, I think this is something we should have a motion on
Okay.
to whether or not to recommend.
I make a motion to recommend the transfer of seniority from Amos and Mary Koblenz to Lester Koblenz for Koblenz Acres.
Second.
So,
Great.
and so,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that's unanimous. So,
So
customer
Carleen
and
motion.
vendor survey?
Yeah.
Or,
Sorry, just to catch up, because I'm behind. Who seconded? You did, okay,
Yeah.
thanks. And all in favor, okay, thank you. The customer and vendor surveys, I have included copies of both. We have done these in the past, but not for a few years. We did hire MIFMA to come out and do the rapid market assessment survey for us, which got us a lot of really great data. And however, I think that that was a big event. We did have to pay them to do it. And I think we could be gathering information every year to sort of be comparing, one, just to compare how are we doing to previous years, but also to be getting input from both vendors and customers. And so I don't know if maybe the best way would be to kind of just read through the questions I had thought would be good to ask. And then if you had any thoughts about wording of the questions or wanted to add anything, that would be helpful to hear. Also, as a note, for the customer surveys, I'd like to do them like MIFMA does, which is in the form of dot surveys, which are large posters we put up at market, and people put stickers on their answers. It's kind of more fun that way and less feeling like you are asking the customer to do a job or
Sure.
getting after them, and I think just makes it, more fun. So, yeah. So these questions are also similar to the questions that MIFMA asked in their rapid market assessment. So a lot of the same data that we would be collecting that we have for last year. Yeah, so how did you hear about the market in different ways, just to try to gauge how people are finding out about us if they don't know about us already? Don't know. What is the best way to share market news with you? So what's the best, way to reach people here?
Can I, Stephanie, I'm sorry to jump in.
Yes,
So, we do a lot of surveying in my job and in my previous jobs. So I have a lot of thoughts about ways to frame questions. It's helpful to know the format. So the dot, I think, idea is a great idea, and changes a little bit my thinking. But I would say definitely, if you weren't thinking of this already, I would include a place for people to write in so that they can do the dots, but also, so sometimes we'll see like sticky notes. You can put a stack of sticky notes and then people can just write down their ideas and add them on.
Yeah.
And then it might also be helpful to actually have a longer paper survey that's also available if people really feel like they have a lot to say or want to do something more intensive. And also a place for people who would be willing to be interviewed briefly. I mean, like a 10 or 15-minute interview, but a lot of times you can get a lot more information with a follow-up interview, and there are always people who are willing to share more thoughts, and but not everyone is, and as you've noted, as people walk through the market, they're probably not going to want to be stopped. So the dots are a great idea.
That's a good suggestion.
I was just going to ask, I guess I'm wondering overall, what do you think is the most important objective of the survey? I know that's a super irritating, nerdy question, but I'm just wondering if it's to try to figure, like, are we trying to entice people to come to the market more often? I would think that would be, that would be a outcome, a great outcome of the survey. Or what are we trying to grow the market? Are we trying to get people to come more often? Are we trying to get more money flowing through it? What do you think would the vendors and you all would see as the intended
Yeah.
impact?
So my thoughts, and I'd love to hear if people have more on it, but yes, getting more people to come and what's the best way to reach them. I think some of these questions try to get at what people want to see at the market, and so if we are going to do any vendor recruiting or trying to get more things out market, what should we be focusing on? What are people looking for? I think some of these questions get at, are they shopping in the surrounding area? So this sort of can be used as when we're talking to local businesses or the KDA, how do we fit in with them? What are we contributing to our neighborhood? I think, that's helpful with our community relationships. And finally, there's a question here about what changes would improve experience at the market and some specific things that we've been thinking of adding, but maybe haven't yet to see if there are priorities. But
So I think if you're wanting people to come more often or spend more money when they're there, I think it's fair to just ask those questions too. Like, what would entice you to come more often? You could ask people how often they're coming if you're not already, and then say, what would get you to come more often? Is it parking? Is it, cost? Is it other events or what, childcare, whatever, just to get a sense of why people aren't coming more often. And one of the options could be, I'm here every time it's open, and so great, then we know how many people feel that they really are here as much as possible. But I would definitely just get to that question. And then I would also say something about like word of mouth. So how can we help you spread the word about the market, or what would help you to share information or bring more people to the market or something like that?
oh yeah, that's good. I like that. What would be an example?
Like, there might be, hours of operation and lists of vendors, like little handouts that people could take and give to their neighbor or their family member, or it could be events for my children, or it could be, I don't know, like specials on, who knows, right? Whatever entices people to shopping in retail outlets is probably far different than at farmers markets because it's such a different experience, but what would get them to come more often and what would get them to tell other people about it or bring other people?
Yeah, awesome. Would help bring in-
Yeah, I would say even like a calendar of like the hot items during the year. Because like some
Oh,
people.
that's a great idea, yeah.
Some people that maybe would be new to the concept of a farmer's market don't necessarily know you don't get rhubarb in October.
Yeah.
Oh, like a seasonal
Yeah.
produce guide.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
Like, what's in?
yeah, yeah.
That's great, and I think it leads to the, and I know you can only do so many questions, but why, what brings you to the market now? You know, is it that, it's local produce, it's in season? Is it that the overall experience, the events, the food trucks, the proximity to downtown, whatever? I think knowing what brought you here today would be a really helpful answer because that's likely to be something that will bring them back.
Yeah. I also think, along with the suggestion about the seasonal produce guide and that kind of thing, pairing it with questions for how do we make that accessible? Because it could be on our website, but maybe
Right.
people aren't looking at our website. So, how are we getting these?
How are you
out
getting the
there?
word out? Yeah, how are
Yeah.
people learning about it? I want to say, I think you're doing a fabulous job with Facebook, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Good. Just need to up our game in other departments. Good.
The one thing, as you're looking towards information for people to give to their acquaintances, is to emphasize, or maybe not emphasize, but include the information that this is a grower's market, because it's becoming more and more unique to have a grower's market. Other markets are hybrid growers markets or not growers markets at all.
And what that means, not everybody knows what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's one of, like, the most, you're right, unique and best qualities we have, and we should
yeah.
definitely be promoting it.
Because especially people like visiting from Metro Detroit or something, they might be going to markets where they're seeing oranges and stuff like that. So like they don't necessarily know exactly what would set Ann Arbor apart.
Yeah. Yes.
I would be curious for a duration question, like how long they're spending there, or like an average visit. And then I would also be curious to see like neighborhood spending as well. So like what type of spending are they doing around the farmer's market?
It's on there.
Oh, it is.
So there's a
Just kidding.
question.
First page.
I'm usually, yeah, perfect. Yeah, but I just think that would be really good data to have for when you go and talk to the DDA about additional parking and
That's right.
like building a giant building on a farmer's market lot,
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that.
No, I think that's really important to make the case for the economic impact broadly of the market. Absolutely. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Good suggestion. Yeah, just to run through the rest of the questions, we're asking, what are they buying? What would they like to see more of? What is their zip code, so we can tell how far people are coming and where are they
Sure.
coming from? How much are they spending at the market, and then how much are they spending at other downtown businesses? What could we change what could improve their experience? I think there could be other things we could put there, but I just added seatings and tables, clear parking signs, drop-off and pickup zones, winterized structure, different vendor product mixes, or adding activities. Are they interested in a newsletter or more information about vendors and events? Vendor characteristics, what is important to them to see in our vendors? And then why are they shopping with specific vendors regularly? Why not? And with that, I was kind of thinking, like, maybe they're shopping more with organic vendors, and if so, maybe we need to get more organic at our market, or for example. And then some more open-ended questions. So,
Great.
yeah. And if you think of other things too.
I think that the work that you're doing to put the little tables and chairs out where there's open space, particularly in the Sandlot area. I think it really helps the market all the way around, including the food truck, or the food, well, whatever you call them, the people that sell
Yeah.
ice cream, tamales, and
Yeah.
anything else. But I think it's just good, and it's
Good.
used.
Good. Thanks.
There's one thing that might be helpful too, is that I know that when we've had changes in the market, that I've heard from various people who are buying, or also people who are vendors, there's a perception as to whether things are more or less busy now. And that sometimes the survey doesn't really tell that, because it just surveys those people who are surveyed. And so I've wondered for a long time, trying to figure out an easy way to collect those kinds of data. And an easy way would be just to have it's like a farmer's market cam, which just so that people could pop online and see what's going on at the farmer's market, and just it would show that there are lots of people there or not. But the nice thing about that is that that's just data that just from those images, you could actually go through and indicate in terms of I see 6 people here, I see 12 people, and then that's easy to do offline later on. So you can even do it automatically. And so you could get continuous profiles of everything that's going on, so that, for example, when they're doing road construction, or when there is, if we're working on the parking lot construction, there will probably be a lot of people saying, oh, nobody's coming. And maybe that's true, maybe it's not. Or maybe something else. It would at least let you get a baseline and compare with something a little bit more objective, and you could get it continuously. And it'd also be kind of advertising thing in terms of look, there's activity at the farmer's market right now. We're open on Wednesdays again, for example, and now you can see it. And so that people would have a sense of, oh yeah, it's hopping at the farmer's market today. Or, no, it's pretty slow. Maybe I like it less crowded, so right now it's a good time for me to go. So that would be an easy way of doing it.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. One of the things I've been frustrated with is the inability to get an accurate customer count, because we have so many entrances.
Yep.
And it's so crowded.
Yep.
We've tried, and basically not a good way to do it.
Yeah.
So I think maybe snapshots or something like that.
Yeah.
Could be another way to get a sense, at least.
And it would give, just at least an indicator. And I know, it's just, if it's crowded in one spot, it's usually crowded in other spots. And so you get a sense of how that could work. But either that or beam breaks or something. But it's an image that I think it's better for advertising too, in terms of, I can actually use that as a customer to
Right.
say what's going on there. It's busy today. Look at all those people carrying watermelons today. Oh, it's a watermelon day. Oh, watermelon's supposed to be hot today. Okay. I want a watermelon too.
Be nice. Cool. All right. Any other comments on customer surveys before we go to vendor survey? Okay. Vendor survey, it's a little shorter, and I was thinking about just doing this as a handout or through email, something they can fill out on their own time. There are, I can just read through it. So the sign-in process, morning loading and unloading, is something that has always been a difficult time of day for everyone. So trying to get at maybe what is most particularly difficult. So I have enough time to set up in the morning, and then to go off of that, would they be willing to come earlier if it meant smoother unloading? And these questions I added because the vendor committee, the FOAC last year, recommended maybe doing staggered stall assignments. And in order to do that, however, some people would have to come earlier than they have been coming. So just trying to feel that out.
I think in getting that information, it would be helpful to know if the person was a daily vendor or an annual vendor. Because I think you'll find that most of the annual vendors are just fine, but the daily vendors struggle.
Yeah.
And some probably more than others.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then finally, a question about parking for vendors in the morning. Are they happy with their situation, their setup?
So I have a clarifying question. What's the difference between a daily and an annual vendor?
Good question. So the annuals are the vendors with permanently assigned spots. And
Okay.
if they want, they can get there as early as they want
2 a.m.?
to set up because they know where they'll be setting up.
Okay. I see,
Dailies
sure.
have to wait until after all of the annual vendors have picked their stalls or set up, and then the dailies from what's remaining are allowed to select and then load. So usually at 6 o'clock, we go around, finalize the annuals, then I come back and at like 5:15, 6:15, what time is it? Assign the dailies their spot. So they maybe have 45 minutes before market starts for every one of them to get in and unload and set up. And it all happens at the same time.
Mhm.
So
I
it can
see.
be chaotic.
I think that in today's world, there would be some way to do this all online before Saturday morning. I think that the annuals could have a deadline of Wednesday, Thursday to indicate whether they're coming or not, and if they're going to be in their own stall. And then there'd be another time frame where those that don't want to go in their own stall can pick their stalls in order somehow. And then the dailies could pick theirs on Friday. Now, I know there's people that can work that out. I don't know how to do that, but I can do some flowers that somebody else can't do. So I just think somebody could do that.
That's a great idea. The one down, I think it's a really great idea, revolutionary. But the one downside I see is it was actually reflected in the application from the vendor eligibility, the retirement, in that he doesn't have a telephone. And I'm guessing it's because he's from the Amish
He's
community.
mhm.
And so I think the Amish community probably would not also take advantage of that, not be able to take advantage of the online sign-up component.
Yeah,
Doesn't mean it's not worth at least exploring and finding out if there's a loophole or something
Well, I-
for.
Or maybe if they come to market on Wednesday, they could already get their thing done for Friday,
Yeah,
Saturday.
maybe there's an exception or exemption or something, but,
And you know what? Sometimes we make decisions in our life, and we have to live with the consequences of them. And so just because one person should we just not even look at it, or should we not even proceed if it's possible? It seems as though we can make some, we can work with it to see what we could do to make it be reasonably fair for everybody.
so it's worth exploring, I think.
But it could really make Saturday morning go well.
I bet.
And then those who want to come at 3 a.m. can, if they want to.
Well, I know, it seems like a lot of vendors do know in advance that they're not gonna be there. And
Right.
so it seems like even you could just do it with paper when they're there. It's like, for next month, here's the sign-up sheet, sign the days you're gonna be here. And if you're signed in, you're there, and if you're not, you're not.
Well,
Sign it.
the only part that's different is the fact that not everybody who has an assigned spot
Mhm.
sets up in their spot.
Mhm, mhm.
And it's all done, I feel like it's really fair, because it's all done by seniority, and everybody knows who's ahead of them and who's behind them. It's like, well, where are they gonna go? All right, oh, I can't go where I wanted to. Well, I'll take this spot instead.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Um,
But you have to wait then for everyone ahead you in seniority before you can choose your spot? Is more, so it more or less
If you
kicks
don't
off
go,
one by
if you
one?
don't go in your own spot. But then there's the other part of it that says, well, I'm, 3/4 of the way up in seniority, so I have to look ahead of me to see who's not gonna be here, and where isn't somebody else who's ahead of me gonna wanna be.
Sure.
It's really complicated.
Sounds like a game of Twister.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind of complicated, but it does work out. But it just seems like and maybe it would mean adjusting a little bit of the process in order to do it online and simplify it for people.
I think it's worth, you're right, looking at what's even
Is it
possible to
even
get
possible?
done, or, if it's not done, even if it's not done before markets begins, like, is there a way, even in the morning, once people are there, that could make it, I don't know.
Yeah,
but-
I'm not sure, but I'm just thinking if there's, I think it's worth putting some, investing some effort into finding out if there is anything that could be done. And, yeah, we could move it up. At one time, the set time we had to be there was 6:15, now it's 6 o'clock. You could move it up another 15 minutes, and that would help some, or you could move it a half hour. But then there's some vendors who have a very quick setup. So, that's the other side of the token, of the coin.
Yeah.
But I
So-
just think there's got to be some electrical engineer who could figure out a program.
Some genius. Yeah,
Maybe it's a graduate student thesis project or something.
Well, it's not complicated, yeah, it's just more, actually, it's more the social part of how to get
Yeah.
those pieces together in a way that complies with your current process, and we can talk more about it in terms of if there is a way to form that on it, we could, all the heavy lifting, the thinking heavy lifting could easily be done at light speed. So, that's not a problem, if it's just a matter of making sure that it actually does what you're doing, or does something that won't get people mad.
I also think, like, bringing us back to the survey, I think what we can do now, at least, is think of what might those possibilities be, and then are there questions we can be asking in this survey that might get us closer to what would work for
Mhm.
people?
Oh, that's
Yeah, that's a good idea. Some of the vendors may have experience or friends or, may have some suggestions for processes or apps or programs or something that have been used successfully elsewhere. So it's a good idea to ask. It's worth asking.
Right. The second question group was just around food assistance. So, seeing if people understand each of the different programs, food assistance programs we're offering, and then what can be accepted for each program. And there's a number, we offer 5 different tokens, and
So I have a few thoughts here,
yes,
of
I'm
course.
sure you do.
So I would list the food assistance programs so that people know exactly which ones you're talking about, and they may have different experiences with different programs. But I would say something about not just their requirements, but I think it's really important for vendors to know the potential benefits to them, not just to the shoppers. So as a Double Up Food Bucks staff person, I would say that there are substantial benefits that are that are potential for vendors. And, we don't want people to experience the programs just as having requirements, but also as having payoff and potentially bringing in a lot more money into the market. And so I would just say, I understand the different food assistance programs, their requirements and potential benefits, or something like that. And then rather than, this is a very minor change, but rather than staff could do more to clarify what each program entails, I suspect staff could always do, right? There's always, but maybe should, or I need more information about the programs or something like that.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
And then maybe the last question is, what can we do to help not just promote the programs to the community, but help you administer the programs, or help you with, because if they're having trouble with the programs or they're finding them onerous, that's something that would be good to know.
Do you think it would be worth asking the question, coming back to the potential benefits to the vendors, listing out what some of those might be, and then seeing what people are seeing as
That's a great idea.
most beneficial, more like,
Are they experiencing
Are
benefit
they
from the programs?
experiencing
Or do they just see it as something they have to do, or do they just see it as something that they offer because it's a good thing for the community, or, what is the experience? That's a great idea. Thank you.
all right. Communications, so currently we communicate with vendors. Once a month, we send out a newsletter with updates via email, and then have hard copies at the office that they can pick up. Not everyone has email, by the way, or computers, so that can be a little difficult. But, yeah, so asking the question, what's the best way to communicate with you? I added, we do not have any in-person meetings right now.
There are some who would really appreciate that, I think, an in-person meeting, an opportunity to do it if they wish to come.
Do you know if we've done those in the past?
It's been a long time.
Yeah, okay.
See, if we had a little bit more of a structure, we could do that stuff right at market, no problem.
Yeah, yeah.
You have enough
But-
time, you're sitting there.
Mhm.
The office doesn't hold very many people.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. And what can we do to improve?
The other thing I was wondering, even with the food assistance programs, I don't know if it would be of any value to offer, and maybe only 3 people would come, but I guess if 3 came, that would be 3 that were helped. An in-person opportunity for them to attend a workshop, kind of a meeting or something.
Like a training or information session.
Not necessarily, if you make it mandatory, that's gonna cause up a lot of commotion, but if you offer it, it seems as though it couldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah,
And
I
IFMA
think.
does that kind of stuff.
Oh, right. I think maybe under the communication heading, I've been thinking about the food assistance programs are an important one, but there are also some other things that are confusing that we need to get information out about, and I struggle with how to do that. So maybe adding the question, would you be interested in informal trainings or explanations for like cottage food labeling guidelines and food assistance programs, things like that.
Great idea.
Yeah,
a
maybe,
good
maybe
idea.
just a day where at different times you could have different topics covered, so if people, like cottage food labeling, I don't really have any, so I'm not interested,
Right.
but
Mm-hmm.
maybe the food assistance programs, I should probably, get brushed up, even though I've done that before, but still.
Yeah, that's a really good suggestion. And you mentioned MIFMA has examples of,
They do, I know
Stuff like
they
this,
do
right?
trainings for the food assistance programs, the 5 programs, and so, and they also are pretty responsive, so if there were a day or even you wanted to do one workshop about all the programs, they probably would send somebody out to share that information. I mean, I could talk about Double Up, but not the other programs, so I'm probably not the best resource.
I like that suggestion.
Of course, now I'm on record volunteering.
Recorded right there.
They might, we will ask. Okay, and then, I asked a question about what activities would people like to see offered at market, if any. I think some don't want to see necessarily anything offered at market, but, music, kids' activities, cooking demos. I just wanted to list things that we are thinking of or capable of doing, so. Parking, if free parking were available within 3 blocks of the market, would you use it rather than park at the market? So parking is always an issue. So just seeing if people are interested, I mean, it would be far, but if you park at market, it's $5. So,
Right.
yeah.
So are you going to ask on here whether the respondent is a daily or an annual vendor? Because that may be interesting to be able to parse out what their answers are, what the
Yeah.
different needs are
I
and
think-
priorities.
I think we should. Okay, yeah. Add that. I have a question about market maintenance. And just an open-ended question about increasing vendor participation on Wednesdays. What can we do to get them to come?
I come.
This one comes, yes. How can we better promote their business? Is there anything more we can be doing? And then other comments. And that was all I had for vendor survey, so.
I guess the same question with the Wednesday thing it applies for the customers too, that might be, because I think the vendors will come if the customers are there.
Yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
that they're
And the
kind of
customers
in
will come if
lead.
the vendors are there.
Yeah, exactly, so but the ones who make the choice sometimes might be, at least getting both their inputs. If there's something that could be done to improve more customers coming, that would be.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
The other thing I would like to point out is that even though there's not maybe as many vendors coming on Wednesday as there at one time were, those who do come bring enough product
Yeah.
that even if you shop at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you still have a variety of things that you can purchase. Yeah. And there are some who kind of, well, my helper and I, we kind of watch. I tell my helper, now, it might be kind of slow here between 1 and 2, so if you need to take a break, it's a good time to do it, but 2 o'clock, you're gonna watch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vendors hightail out of here, and then we'll have our last little rush between 2 and 3. So I don't know if that's a problem. There still are some there till 3, but,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's true. And at times I've tallied, my sales between 2 and 3. I can't find anything else to do to make that much money in 1 hour.
Which again, that may be where the kind of traffic stuff would be useful too, because I think a lot of people believe that there's nobody there, so it's like, it's dead, so I'm
Yeah.
closing up shop, but then it's like, but look, there are all these people here, I have pictures of all these people that were here, that you missed out on.
Well, I mean, I don't know how many it is, but those who do come, they do buy
Yeah.
between 2 and 3.
They're there with the mission.
Great. Wow. Lots of really good suggestions and things to work with. Thank you. Yeah, so I'll be working on refining these. I can email out more finalized copies to you guys once I've incorporated suggestions. And I guess we can continue to think about it. I'd like to do these in the fall. Okay,
Sounds good.
Great.
thanks.
Any new business or non-agenda items from anyone? That leads us to the market manager report, which is the back page.
All right. So, partnerships, we will be partnering with Food Gatherers again this year, which we did last year. This year, they'll only be there one day, the first weekend in August. And, they'll be talking about their partnership with the market, which, they come after market every week and collect leftover food, but also giving a chance for customers who want to donate food that they can. So, I think it's a great organization and excited to kind of promote what they're doing. Senior Project Fresh, they came and distributed coupons already, and WIC Project Fresh will be coming in really soon, actually, July 26th. So it's good. And we'll be partnering with Zero Waste Washtenaw, hopefully have a meeting with them this week to try to do more composting and recycling at the food truck rallies, since we have so much trash left over from them every time.
I've seen the mountain
Yes.
before, behind the building.
It is a mountain.
It is a mountain.
We're adding a new social media tool to highlight our vendors, post events, and share pictures. This is going to be in the form of, it can go on your phone as sort of an app, although it's not an app. You don't have to go to the App Store to download it, but you can put it on your phone and just kind of click on it, and it'll pull up a website, basically. And we'll be able to highlight each month different vendors so that eventually we get through everyone for the whole year. And then it, has an automatic way to sign you up for, do you want updates or newsletters? Do you want a text reminder that market's this day? That kind of thing. And they're professional photographers as well, so a nice way to get some good images, of the market out there. So it should be fun. And MLive covered the July 5th food truck rally. There's a little article in there. Operation Stall Move-Up Day is scheduled for Saturday, the 29th. So Stall Move-Up Day is the day when everyone has the chance and option to change location. So all of the vendors who want to change their permanent location, the annual vendors who are assigned a permanent spot, can come and, in order of seniority, get to pick from open spots, and then everyone kind of moves around. And then if we have, which we do, we have open stalls available, so some daily vendors also get to move up to be annual vendors. And some of the annual vendors get to add an extra stall. So maybe they have 2 permanent stalls, and then they'll get to add another, so they'll have 3. So, yeah, it all changes.
Yeah. Then everybody has to adjust again.
Yeah. All right, and finally, food truck rallies have been going well. We had 2 musicians last time, kids' activities, and a good turnout, so excited for August. And that's kind of all the updates for this month. So unless anyone has any questions, the food carts have been a success. 1 or 2 people use it each market, so they catch on, yeah.
I think on Saturday, if there would be somebody who could come with a cart with breakfast, would be great.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, you mean like,
A food
not a
cart.
cart, but like a
Food cart.
hot food
Yeah,
vendor.
I mean, we've generally said we don't really have room for a truck, although so far this year, there would have been room for a truck, but I don't know about electricity and so on. But I just think if there could be something with breakfast,
Mhm.
that would be,
Cool.
I think it would be well accepted, because tamales don't get there till like 10.
He might do breakfast burritos.
All right,
He
well,
might
I
add
think,
breakfast
oh,
burritos, which
yeah.
would be really nice. So we'll see. Yeah, we might be able to get you those.
yeah, I
At
just think that it
breakfast.
would be,
Yeah,
I mean, it'd be worth a try anyway.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people there starting at 6.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true.
I'd eat breakfast at the market if there was a burrito truck.
Yeah. Okay.
all right.
All
So, second public comment and adjournment.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.